So continue telling me about your...
So he said, looks like we're in business, so it's starting.
So it's
So
starting.
if anything, we will at least get financing. We'll have a couple episodes filmed, hopefully by the end of the year, and ready to pitch to people.
That's fast. That's quick.
Yeah. So that's the goal. Well, I mean, it's like 1 or 2. We're not going to do like a whole season or anything like that. It's just, hey, here's a couple.
Couple
What
pilot
do you
episodes.
think? And I think what we're going to also do is a couple different ways. Like, we'll do it with the, the live. Like, there's a camera guy there. Everybody knows he's there.
Like this, someone's carrying
right.
it.
There's no fourth wall, so people see it. And then we may
Feel like
film
they're
it
there.
a different way where, we're pretending the camera's like a normal episode. So we're going to probably film it a couple different ways and pitch it out and see how it goes.
So this is going to be based on your stories, your life, and everything that you went through.
Yes, in the Warrant Unit, yes.
So tell us about that, a little bit about that. Tell us your journey there as well.
So in 2004.
First, real quick, we're here with Mark Fusetti. Fu,
Yes.
thank you for coming here. Thank you for being
Thanks
on.
for having me. I appreciate it.
Don't mean to interrupt you. Continue on.
So in 2004, I was working for a councilman, Rick Mariano. Great guy. At the time, when I was working for him, he got put under federal indictment. So I was like, all right, this isn't going to last. I got to do something. I was 29 maybe?
So you're a little bit older than I am now.
A little bit, yeah.
26.
God bless you. I'm 49. I'll be 50 in September.
I feel closer to 49 than I do to 26.
I don't even remember 26, but enjoy it while you can. Flies by. So he had said to me, listen, and I'm a loyal person. Whether it's dating, working, friendship, I am loyal almost to a fault. I was like, look, I'm just going to stay until you're done. No big deal, whatever. I liked the job. I actually liked working for him. I liked helping people in the community. He's like, look, just find a place you want to go, and we're going to make it happen. All right. So my childhood friend, Tristan, when I do a lot of my episodes with, he was already working for the courts. He was a bail interviewer. He had just went to the Warrant Unit. And he was telling me about it, and I was like, that's where I want to go.
Real quick, can you explain what that unit is, and for everyone that doesn't know?
So in Philadelphia, anywhere, if you don't go to court, you get what's called a bench warrant. It's not to be confused with an arrest warrant or a search warrant. Everybody hears warrant, they assume.
Obviously, yeah, they believe.
Bench warrant is simply, you have court tomorrow, you don't show up, the judge issues a warrant from the bench. It's a bench warrant. Failure to appear, different names for it. And that warrant stays on you for the rest of your life. Has no, it doesn't expire. Your right to a speedy trial, the moment you don't go to court, is put on hold. So you can't, people think, I won't go to court for 90 days, right to a speedy trial. Hey, you missed it. And that's not how it works. So in any city, most cities or townships, the sheriff enforces that. Warrant, you don't go to court, the sheriffs come looking for you. Well, in Philadelphia, for us, we were the ones that did it. We worked directly for the courts, for the judges. They would send us, not the sheriffs. We were only one of 2 cities that ever did it. Us and Chicago had their own court warrant unit.
How many people are in there?
And again, there was 50 to 75 people. So that was our job, 24/7, to go look for the people that did not go to court, violated their probation, or we also monitored the house arrest unit. So you got put out on house arrest for whatever reason. You violated that. We would also come lock you up for that. But we also had arrest powers as well. So if we were out seeing a guy with a gun, which, I have plenty of those stories.
You're going to have to fill us in. What are some of them?
So I'll give you a couple, like real quick on that, just because that one just popped up. We were driving down 61st and Calla Hill. We were right around there. And we see a guy. Now, we're out in the middle of the night, so you observe everything and everybody. You just have to. Now, we're at a red light, and we see a guy get out of a passenger seat car, Just see him, he's right there. He stands up and he puts surgical gloves on. And we're like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
So I
something's
radioed
odd, yeah.
to my partner behind me. I was like, yo, and he's like, already seen it. We're gonna U-turn. So we go up, pass, drive by him. Now he doesn't recognize us because we are in unmarked cars. We have Ford Explorers. So unless you knew who we were, you didn't know. We drive up, make a U-turn, come back, converge on the car, lights and sirens, hands up. He complies, we go, there's a gun right there. He was getting ready to shoot up a house because the people in the house beat up his stepson and stole his bike. So now we actually feel bad for him because any father would probably want
wants to protect their child, whatever the case is.
You know, but we also kind of like, you know, at first he was like, it's not my gun, but he's there with his wife. And we're like, well, then it's hers. Somebody's. Then he manned up. You know, so lock him up, take him. And that's just one of countless stories of, you know, just driving around in the middle of the night in dangerous neighborhoods while looking for someone with a warrant. You run into this, that, and the other. And that was basically what we did. And
How long were you on the unit?
so when I was working for the councilman, he got me in. He didn't get me in. I got interviewed. I got in on my own, but he was like, you know, to the president judge, this is somebody I really, he'll be an asset. And everybody that worked in the court, or worked for this unit, had a political connection. Okay. Wasn't a secret. Everybody knew somebody.
And real quick, the indictment, what was that on?
The usual,
Do you remember?
What was it? So
It's not no worries.
anyone can look it up. He actually went to jail for about 4.5 years for it. He was indicted with all the typical stuff that comes with any politician, wire fraud, all the...
Welcome to politics.
Exactly. And long story short, for anyone that doesn't know, what had happened with him was he borrowed money from a friend, a lifelong friend, a childhood friend, who just happened to do business in his district. They made it sound like he was taking, you know, money
bribes.
under the table. He wasn't. Like, if anything, he was negligent in not knowing what to do right and wrong. And he voted on something that he shouldn't have, but the vote passed 17-0 anyway. Had he not voted, it still would have passed. So they made it seem like, oh, this guy. And then once, anybody who doesn't know, once the feds start looking into you, they find things that you don't know. Exactly. And
They find anything and they'll put it.
And he went, you know, he fought it because, and again, I think they kind of just went a little too hard on the guy. Wound up going to jail for 4.5 years. And it wasn't, when you read the facts, it's like, really? This is what? But it was just about making a name for themselves and getting them. And they got them.
What I say is, or not what I say, what I've heard, and I heard this from Patrick Bet-David. I don't know, you know Patrick Bet-David, right? He said, choose your enemies wisely. And I feel like there's not a truer statement to relate to that.
Yeah. So, you know, so that happened, and I felt bad for him, you know, because funny story there. I was going to be a character witness for him because the guy was nothing but aces with me. He was never seen him do anything illegal. You know, all these politicians in the city have this power trip.
Of course.
It was nothing new, but he was more like, he was just an FU guy. He was an Italian guy. He just didn't care. Just F this, F that. I don't care, whatever.
Old school.
Oh, very. And there was a girl that was testifying against him that worked with us. And this girl stole a house, flat out stole a house. And you're thinking, what? How do you steal a house? And in the city, it's very easy. She had connections down to the deed office, went down there, and changed the deed to her name.
That's insane.
And it was a nice house up in Castro Gardens. She stole it. And it was no secret. Everybody knew she did.
So how deep does the corruption and the political misuse of power go in Philadelphia? How deep is that? Everyone always talks about the deep state, right? Everyone talks about all these different things, the people behind that you don't see that are making decisions, and they're behind the curtain. But is this prevalent in every damn major city like it is in Philadelphia?
Yeah. And here's the problem. They get in. You and I may run tomorrow. We win whatever council seats. And then we get in there. And then all of a sudden, you're a person that no one really knew. maybe a few people in your neighborhood, to all of a sudden now
Elevated.
you're elevated up here and everybody wants a piece of you. You know, powerful, rich, powerful people, celebrities, whoever, need a piece of you because they need something. And it's how does that person handle it? And 9 out of 10 just can't handle it right. One of the things we were told in training with our warrants was that warrant holds so much power. You are allowed to go in a person's home any time of day or night and hold them. You are allowed to put them in cuffs, in custody, and you can do whatever you need to do. Like that power, you can give people freedom. You can take it away. And if you abuse that power, you're just going to crash.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yes, and it's so true. And that's a problem with, I think, a lot of politicians, even with our U.S. Congress, the senators. And
So bad.
I believe a lot of people run for the right reason. And then once they get in there, I mean, they're getting hit from every angle.
They get corrupted.
And it's, if you can't handle having all that power, it's just going to get you.
You go in there as a good person, right, with good intentions, right? However, when people start threatening you and people start offering a lot of money, first of all, you have temptation. Second of all, you have threatened power against you.
Yep.
Those are two things in which many people struggle with, right? It's hard to have someone say, well, if you don't fall in line, you and your family could be hurt. Well, then a lot of people are like, I got to do this for my family. Other way, temptation, give you so much money, give you all these different things. Now you owe something to me.
Exactly.
It's like the deal with the devil. Exactly.
Yep. And that's at our U.S. level, at our federal level. See, our local level here, the perfect example is our sheriff's office.
Is it easier to...
It's so much easier.
I
Yes.
believe it is easier, but do you believe it is easier?
Yes, it's 100%
to influence
easier
local?
to infiltrate the local government here in Philadelphia, especially because when you see who gets in and the process, like our friend Sam,
Sam Oropeza.
right? When I was with him during his last run for city council at large, and the disgusting tactics people were doing, not only to him, but even to me.
Yeah. Well, you're affiliated with him.
To prevent him from getting into that club was just mind-blowing. And you think all this for $140,000, $150,000 a year job for somebody that wants to come in and do good. But this somebody like Sam wasn't going to come in and listen to the ward leader from here or the committee person from there.
He's his own man.
He's going to come in, tell us what he's doing, what he's not doing, why he's doing it, and he's going to cut those people out. And when you cut those people out, they're the ones that throw the uproar because they're the ones that control who gets in, who gets out, who gets the contact with you, who gets that. It's just filthy, dirty, and you wonder when you see the people that do get in, it's like,
how did they get in?
How did you get in? Because if we had to sit down and take a test to get in, half of you aren't.
Well, I feel like that is the perfect way to explain it because I see this all the time, whether it is in Congress or at the local level. And you're seeing these people, you're watching them. You're like, how did this guy or this person get in? When you can tell, first of all, they're not good speakers, a lot of them. Second of all, they don't have good communication skills. Third of all, they don't know a lick of anything about anything.
Exactly.
So, how can you not know how the government works? How can you not know how the economy works? How can you not know how business works? How can you not be able to speak? Like, you may not be able to do all these different things, but if you can speak well and convince people that you're worthy to be there, okay. But half of these people can't even do that.
I don't know if you're a football guy, there's a test all potential draftees take. What's it, Wonderlic?
Wonderlic test, exactly.
And they take it, and that's where you find out, like, this dude's dumb as a brick, or he's a genius. And I think anybody that wants to run for any government should have to take a test like that, and it should be made public. Here's what he or she scored on this test. Because...
at least basic comprehension.
There was one, I forget his name, he's a congressman. They were having a meeting a couple years back regarding Guam. And he had said, if we put too many people on the island, it will flip. And I'm concerned that the whole island would flip. And the general, to his credit, looked at the guy and was like, and I know what he was thinking, like, I cannot believe this is a real question being asked to me by a U.S. congressman. And he did. And some of the things, it's like if you were my dad and you said that, I'd be like, Dad, I need to change my last name. I'm done. There's no way you can ask a question but that's normal. And they get a pass. And in our local government, it's no different.
It's probably worse.
It's so bad. I mean, just look at our sheriff's department. Look at her. It's one of the most embarrassing things when she speaks, let alone when...
Sherrod Parker?
No, not the mayor.
The sheriff?
Sheriff Bilal.
Sheriff, okay. Real quick, when it comes to the sheriff and the police department, what do you think of the current state of the police department? What do you think of the sheriff? I know you've already shared a couple of thoughts.
The sheriff should be disbanded. That unit should be gone. The good people should be given the opportunity to take what's called an Act 120. That's what makes you a Philadelphia or a Pennsylvania police officer in Pennsylvania. Let the department take whoever they want. The rest should be what they are, security guards. That's what I think of that agency. And here's the thing, and for people that don't know, our unit was absorbed by that agency. We all had an opportunity. I'll give you this story here. So I worked for the Warrant Unit for 10 years. Got hired in 2004 after Rick got indicted. Was officially brought in 2005, October 2005. Worked until August of 2015. That's when we got absorbed by the Sheriff's Department. And this is how corrupt the unit is from the start. It's a civil service test. You got to take a test to get in there. What they did for us is anybody in a warrant unit that wanted to continue their career, you were going to go work for the sheriffs now. They opened up a civil service test for us for 1 hour at midnight on a Wednesday. Yes. They flat out, that's what they did. Opened it up for 1 hour, didn't tell anybody, electronic or anything. It was one person.
That's insane.
Yep. Called one of our people in the unit and said, hey, make sure everybody knows if they want to come over, they got to take the test or they got to sign up for it. So everybody signed up. And that's how majority of everybody got in. Now, I signed up the first time as well. Talked to a few people I was friends with over there, and they were like, you're going to hate it. You're going to hate it. It's not like what you guys get to do. So the courts gave us an option. If you do not want to go be a sheriff, you can stay here. We will find you other jobs, which I wound up doing. So we retired as warrant investigators and worked for the courts, which I did for a couple more years, and then I wound up going into the private sector. But for all the people that are there now that used to be warrant officers, they gamed the system, Jewel Williams at the time, along with the court administrator, or the president judge, Judge Herring at the time, together, backdoor deal, a typical political move in Philadelphia. They went in a back room, made a deal, and out comes the warrant unit's going to be gone. And this is all because the judge himself, in Pennsylvania, when you're a judge, you have to retire at a certain age. When you hit that age, whatever it may be, I forget, you're gone. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Well, he sued, the state, went all the way to Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, no, you're out. And he had told people, I'm burning bridges when I leave. And we were the bridge. Wow. That was it. That's why that unit does not exist today. That's why there are warrants, probably excess of 50,000. Just nobody's doing anything. I always say this. They took our unit, it was like the 27 Yankees, merged us with the Miami Marlins farm system, and the Miami Marlins farm system are telling the Yankees how to play baseball now.
Insanity at its
and that's
finest.
Why we are here we are today.
So, we talked about how things can get corrupted, and we talked about the obviously legal system and the judges and backdoor deals, right? Who are the people that are basically threatening power over these judges or threatening power over a lot of these Congress people or local officials? Are there any suspects in your mind? Like many times I hear, oh, George Soros goes after the local officials in all of these different cities and towns and whatever the case is. Who do you believe is behind it?
I don't want to say his name, but there is a person. Now, Philadelphia is a Democratic city, so the Republican Party, it's almost irrelevant, which is sad. They would hold on to a few seats here and there, but for the Republicans, it's the guy Vince Finnerty. For anyone that doesn't know who that is, Vince Finnerty used to be the head of the parking authority, who was
PPA.
Yeah, the PPA, who was forced out in disgrace because of sexual misconduct, which they had to pay out millions. The guy still gets a pension, makes more money in a pension a month than most doctors make in a year. It's insane. It's insane. So he's the shot caller for the Republicans. Him and his cronies. They're the ones that went after Sam. They're the ones that go after anybody that they don't handpick. Now, mind you, I had asked these guys before when I first started helping Sam a few years back, what does it take for me to get in? What does it take for me to get your blessing? And they're like, you got to wait your turn. Like, what madness is that? Can you imagine, somebody saying to Mike Tyson in his prime, yeah, you're great, but it's not your turn.
Wait your turn.
Wait your turn. Like I will go through everybody ahead of me. That's the problem on the Republican side. The Democrat side, it's a little more difficult because there are a lot of big people, big names.
There's multiple different players.
Right. And it pretty much goes by the neighborhoods, the areas where you're at, who makes that, who calls on, all right, yes, you get my blessing, you don't get my blessing. And that's how it's done locally here. It's wrong, but it's whoever controls the money, because that's it. All you need to run and to make it in any of these cities, or in our city, in any of these offices, is the cash.
Follow the money.
Follow the money. That's it. And nobody ever does. So.
Well, a normal person is too busy just trying to survive.
Right. Going to work every day, going and make sure, okay, I got to vote today. You vote. They don't have the time to read all that literature that comes in their mail, because we all do the same thing. You see, you throw it out. I ain't reading it. Few people do have time to say, all right, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to research this candidate, that candidate. No. Who do they vote for? It's either the person in the first slot. This is how it works for judges and everything. This is how crazy our system is. If there's 5 open seats to be a judge, a municipal court judge, this election term, they will have 50 candidates. They'll all come and they pick a number out of a coffee can, which is actually pretty cool how they do that. And they get ranked. They get placed according to the number you pick. Once they're picked, once they get their number, if they're not in the top 5 or 6, they're out. Like Sam, when he picked his number, he was number 6. They were getting 5 people. Sam picked number 6, and it literally went down the way everybody picked. Because people that don't know, they just go boop, 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 boop. That's it. And that's how they vote. Most people vote that way. Now, Sam, in his case, when he ran, he went to so many doors, asked people, can you just vote for me? Which is called
groundwork.
Right, which is called a bullet vote. Like, I'm just voting Sam and nobody else. He had 1,200 people do that for him. The next closest number was 4.
Wow.
So he beat the next person by 800 votes, which the math doesn't work, but I know we didn't have the money to fight all that stuff. And Sam would have won because they knew Sam would have gotten Democratic votes in the general election. They spent I believe they spent over $100,000 to fight Sam not to get in. And that's what the system does in this city. If you are an outsider, they are going to throw everything under the sun to make sure you don't infiltrate their little boys club. Because when you do, and you're a real person, you're going to expose it. And there's a lot to be exposed.
Well, did the same thing happen with our good friend, Pat Gushue?
Pat as well. And Pat was more even keel with everything too. But it's the same thing. It's like,
things don't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. He's out there every day talking to the people every single day, but a little more money from the other side that comes from the Republican Party.
Tilts the scales.
It just tilts it. And people just see the same name on TV. They see it, and they just see it on the board. And that's how a lot of people vote. It's great. I worked the polls a couple times during the last few elections. And the people that would come up and have no idea what they were doing, was astonishing. Oh, who do I vote for? Oh, I can't vote for that person. I want to vote for this, but why should I vote for this person? And I'm thinking, like, how are you coming here today not knowing what you're doing? You're just showing up thinking, oh, it's my civic duty. I'm here to vote. Yeah, at least have an idea who you're voting for and why. Like, do you understand why we live in an area like where I live, where I grew up in Frankfurt, moved to Mayfair, where I loved my house in Mayfair, but we had to move because we were just getting overrun with rental properties. And a rental property brings in somebody for 6 months, they pay for 3, they destroy the house for the other 3, they ruin the neighborhood. It was over and over and over to the point where you're forcing your lifelong people out, and no politicians, and we would call, our neighborhood would call people, hey, our committee person, our ward leader, our council person, and it's too late. When you have to make the calls because of the problem, it's already too late. So it's who's the better person? That's who I want in for me. Not the same person that's been in there for 20 years who's watched a neighborhood go down like that. Why is that? And this is the thing that frustrates me with people. You're living in it. You're seeing it every single day. Why are you still allowing it? I was able to get up and move. And I did. Moved to a big single home with a huge yard, no problems. It's the greatest spot. Not a lot of people can, especially when we worked in, Kensington and North Philly, and people would call us and say, Sarge, can you please come get these crackheads out of this abandoned house? The cops won't go in because they're not allowed. And we would walk in there and say, everyone get the fuck out. You're out. And we would do that for them because I knew that family, that single mom with 3 kids, couldn't go there.
They need it.
The elderly couple. They've been in that house for 40 years. Yes, it's a terrible block, but that's their home. They don't have a mortgage anymore. Who's there for them? Yeah, there's a person that'll come around every 4 years for your vote.
Yeah, that's it.
But you will not see them for 4 more. And they're going to tell you it's everybody else's fault. And that's the problem with the city and the residents that vote and don't vote.
So you were a poll watcher, you said a couple times now.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen some, I guess you would call it funny business going on as a poll watcher?
I didn't, but then again, it was my first time, so I only did it twice.
Because I know someone that was a poll watcher, and there was a big scandal, everything that was going on here in Philly, PA, and he ended up going on Tucker Carlson, and he ended up talking about the whole thing, Brian McCafferty. But besides that, what do you think of the current political establishment with our mayor, Sherrell Parker?
So it's funny because I'm friends with a lot of local reporters who want to do their job. They want to tell the truth. They want to tell the stories, but they're not allowed. Like, they're not allowed to bash Krasner. And they've told me this, like, hey, I can't. My editor or my boss says no. We can't fight with him because he'll cut us out. Everybody was told, like, Parker got a pass for a year. Didn't matter what she did or didn't do. She got a free pass. And I think that's wrong. Like, there's a story. I won't go into the full details because I can't
divulge that
prove
information
it without outing people. But the night she won her election, she left the party because she had an emergency dental issue and she had to go to the hospital. Yes, that's the official story. If you look it up, on the night that she won.
That's odd.
Right. On the night that she won at her party, instead of celebrating, giving a speech saying, yes, we did it, way to go, thank you, everybody, she was in the hospital. Yeah, it's not true. I know the true story, which is far more concerning.
I've heard many stories as well.
Right. We'll talk off. I'll tell you what really happened. But, no, and people know, and listen, and there's proof. There isn't just, hearsay. There's video evidence. There's documentation. People know the truth. Even the reporters know, but they're not allowed to say nothing. So it's like, okay, give her the benefit of the doubt. That's what she's been under. And she's still kind of under that, don't bash her.
How much control do they have over the media? If that is the case, if the reporters know the truth, but they're not allowed to say it, and they say something else even though they know the truth, well, then obviously there's a level of control over that media, which is a high level of control.
It's optics. So they don't want to bash the first black female mayor of the city. And now you look like you're attacking her for the wrong reasons. When you're legitimately attacking her for policies, whatever policy you agree or don't agree with, everybody should be open to that. But they're told if you attack her, and just Chad Pradelli, he's a Channel 6 white news anchor. He's not going to be, or news reporter, he's not going to be allowed to bash her because they're going to say, well, you're a white man bashing, a black woman, our first, black female mayor. So they just ignore it. They just ignore it. I mean, everybody saw the incident where she misspelled the Eagles. Yeah. And everyone's made, oh, that's so funny, it's hilarious. That's not funny. That is sad. That is our mayor. That is the boss of our city who can't spell a word that everybody can spell because everybody's an Eagles fan.
Remember I told you at the beginning, they don't have any comprehension of economics. They don't know how to speak. They don't know how to do anything. How do people like this get in office?
It's because they come in, I want to be this person. They go to these powers that be that control the money. There's deals made, so everybody knows there are tons of deals. So there are people that are now working for this person that gave money are now working in her administration. It's just how it works. If you're a millionaire and I say, listen, I want to get in, I want to be the sheriff next year. I'll probably need $200,000-$300,000 to do it. Can you help me? In this city of politics, no one's helping you for the kindness of their heart. What's in it for me? I'd make you a deputy. I'll make you a deputy sheriff. I'll make you a lawyer or whatever. Because I control so much of my own budget, I'll find something for you. And this is what they do. That's what the sheriff's office, and they do it. I don't know how the feds haven't come in and just locked that building down, but that's a whole other issue. But that's all.
Maybe it goes deeper.
It does. And I know there's investigations going on to that office, but there always is. But that's what it is. It's you control the money. I want to get in. You talk to the people, to the committee people, the ward leaders. All right, we're going to back Mark. We're going to back Mark for sheriff. He's the one. All of you get on board. Or you don't get money. That's what he or she will tell the other people. And now they're all coming to him like, well, what do we get? What do we get? And there's two things. You either get a job, and this is old as time. This has been going on since the 70s, 80s. This isn't new. You either get a job, or on election day, what a lot of people may or may not know, everybody gets paid in cash. All the poll workers, all the street workers, everybody cash. You get an envelope, whatever your fee was for that day.
That envelope has.
I got $150. It was handed to me in cash for working the polls. But these big people, they put out a ton of money, a ton of it. So there are people on election day that are making a huge, huge profit just by being connected. They're not getting a job, but their envelope's definitely fatter than somebody else's.
Who's the best mayor of Philadelphia, in your opinion?
I would say it's either Rendell or John Street. A lot of people, everything was civil, calm under Street's second term, and he was under federal investigation almost the whole time. Nutter came in, and he seemed like the perfect outside person because he never was establishment when he was a councilman. He was always business, by the numbers, but he came in and jacked up. That's why we pay 8% in tax today instead of 7% because of him. But he came in and did the same thing. I'm slashing. I'm gonna control. I'm gonna mayor out of fear. If you don't do this, I'm gonna knock this off. They brought up which was funny. They brought up the soda tax back in his day, and everyone was like, no. Jim Kennedy comes in and says, one of the people that voted against it as a council person, oh, I'm coming in and doing that. And what happens? It's to generate money for the kids, for kindergarten, pre-K. Guess what?
How much money of that's getting stolen?
It went 900 other places. And he came in and said, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. And he did this, that, and the other. And I liked Jim Kennedy at first. Him and my councilman hated each other. But my brother-in-law was in a situation, was a judge. And, it was a case where it got a lot of media attention. And Kenny came out and said, that's why he's a judge, to make that hard decision. So I always respected him for that. So when he became mayor, I was excited. I was happy. I was like, okay, there's somebody, I don't know him personally, but I know his character. He's going to lead us. And my God, he was the worst.
Opposite way.
He was the absolute worst. He did not want to be mayor. He just wanted the perks, the pension. So he's down in Florida, living it up now, making a couple $100,000 a year off his pension, insurance for life, while the rest of us are stuck
Suffer.
here. And that's why I think Parker gets a lot of a free pass still, because she is
He was
cleaning
so
up
bad.
a lot of his mess.
What do you think about Shapiro?
See, I don't mind Shapiro as much. I know people are so divided. It's like yes or no.
Governor Shapiro, yeah.
I think the guy's probably closer to a Republican than although he's a Democrat. I think he's one of those secret Democrats, which we call, there's different names for them. But
Dino.
Registered Democrat, vote Republican type guy. But the one thing that really irks me about him is he's not above the corruption. And the whole thing with the Ellen Greenberg case, and if the people are familiar with that, the girl that allegedly...
Very weird.
There's so many connections to where, and some of them may have been just incidental. Like, you grow up in a privileged life, you're going to know privileged people. And, when it comes around like this incident where there's connections there, not saying he had anything to do anything wrong, but the fact of the matter is, like, that girl did not kill herself. Everybody under the sun knows she didn't kill herself. But when you were in a position to find out the truth, you fucking pushed it away. You didn't do it. So
he was originally, from what I hear, supposed to be the VP pick for Kamala Harris, right? And it's not just what the public thinks. The odds of him becoming the VP, they skyrocketed very high. And then all of a sudden, out of left field, out of nowhere, Tim Walz comes in, and he ends up being the VP pick for Kamala Harris. Did you hear anything about this? I've heard that he was the VP pick, and then something happened in which they last second changed direction. They went with Tim Walz. What do you think of that?
I had reporters tell me, it's going to be Shapiro.
Same.
It's him. They're going to announce it, and then go on. I'm told this is from a national reporter, that she didn't want him. It was the party wanted him to help her, and she knew he would outshine her, and that she was basically...
But wouldn't you want someone like that that's going to shine bright so that you shine even brighter?
No, because she's so bad. She couldn't shine brighter. And the rest is history. But that's what I heard. He was in. I think he was even told.
That's what I heard. I heard he was told that he was going to be the pick. And then, out of nowhere, he got blindsided by the pick of Tim Walz.
Yeah, and that's because... And Shapiro is, so educated. He is presidential looking.
He's 100 times better,
sounding,
in terms of...
And I had thought him doing that could have only probably hurt him, especially if she would have won. He's by her side, and we're just tanking. He ain't running. You can't become president now. No one's going to vote for you. So I think it was one of those situations where he was like, all right, cool. Blessing in disguise, I guess. I'm sure he'll be the one that runs next. Or, whatever. Well,
might be one of the picks. So I have some stats. I'm going to pull them up about Philadelphia. We have the crime in Philadelphia and the violent crime and the robberies. So when we go to usafacts.org, Philadelphia ranked as having the most homicides in 2022 out of all of the major cities and having the fourth highest homicides per 100,000 people. In 2024, Philadelphia ranked as having the third most robberies out of all of the major cities in the United States. How do we fix this issue?
You need a new district attorney. That's it.
New DA.
Everybody, and full disclosure, the Judge Dugan running is my technically brother-in-law. Me and my wife are divorced, but we're still all, friendly. And, he is truly one of the most honorable human beings you'll ever meet in life. I mean, here's a guy that retired from the Army, went back in, back in 2000, early 2000s, and when asked by a reporter, why are you doing it? It's because there's a kid over there that wants to come home, that needs to come home. So I'm going to go so some kid can come back. He was a part of rebuilding Iraq's government, came home, ran for judge, was appointed by then Governor Ed Rendell, won his election bid, and has been the fair, balanced, down the middle. He doesn't allow emotion to take over. You need somebody that's going to come in and go into the office, the district attorney's office, and do the same. And say, listen, we got the laws on the books already. Let's just use those laws. Like Krasner tries to deflect. Harrisburg this, Harrisburg that. Don't be fooled by any of that nonsense. We have some of the strictest gun laws in America. Already here on the books. All they need to do is have the district attorney, when you are found guilty of a gun crime, is hammer you for it. When you do that, it stops. It's truly that simple.
Enforce the law.
Enforce the laws that we already have. Stop trying to make it harder for people like me who are law-abiding citizens that aren't going to break the law, that aren't criminals. Stop making it harder for me.
Why are they not enforcing the law?
Because it goes against everything. Everybody's got to understand, Larry Krasner was a defense lawyer. Okay, a defense lawyer that sued the police department. That's his claim to fame. And he always lost, too. He is not a good lawyer. I worked for a bail bonds company when I went into the private sector. And we had a list of lawyers that our owner was friendly with. So if you came in, you had to get your son out of jail, we would ask you, do you have a lawyer? You would say, no, I need one. Okay, what's the crime? All right, you're going to want Shaka Johnson. You're going to want Lou, I forget his name, whatever. And on the bottom of that list was Larry. And we would send people to Larry that had no money and had ridiculous cases, like raping of a child or something, because they can't afford them. But the owners still throw him stuff. That way he feels like he's a part of this. And we used to do that. And he would call. Like Krasner would call the office and yell at my supervisor, like, you're sending me, pieces of shit that don't have money. They can't, what am I going to do with this case? I can't make any money off it. And that's all he cared about was money, which most lawyers, that's all they care about. He ain't no different. So that's who he was. And then when Lynn Abraham was gone, or when Seth Williams got indicted and was out and he needed a new district attorney, I mean, everyone's laughing the fact that him. So what happens? Soros's crew comes in, they find the person that will be the yes man, Larry, and they dump $1 million plus into him, and he wins. And that's why
it's funny how that works, doesn't it?
And his whole thing was to come in and we're going to be fair and honest. And to be fair, the criminal justice system to black young men has not been fair. The whole system needs a revamping, and that's its own show in that. But to come in and say, I am not locking anybody up anymore, and it gets even a little darker that I can't prove it, so I'm not going to say it. I'll tell you later. But you look at it, it's like, my God, man, the scales were tipped, and you're trying to re-tip them the other way. And he's made no secrets about it. And when it comes time to vote, again, there's a core of people that are just going to vote for him because they're told to. And the rest are going to think, we can't beat him. I'm not even going. But I think this time with Dugan, he's going to get the support of the Democrats. It's going to be close. And once he's in there, I'm telling everybody, you can't find a more honest man. I'll tell you a quick story. Me and my ex-wife, and I don't really publicly put this out there because it's a family issue, but I talk enough about other people, it's only fair that I say it. When we got divorced and I had the paperwork, he called me and said, I'll come over, I'm going to look at your divorce. Now, this is his sister I'm getting divorced from, to make sure you're not getting ripped off. Wow. And came over, sat down, went over all the paperwork, and we were very amicable, split 50-50, nothing crazy. We don't hate each other. And that's what he did. Even though it's his sister, he still wanted to make
Honor,
sure
yeah.
I wasn't getting ripped off. 'Cause he knew
Honorable and noble.
I wasn't going to hire a lawyer and do all that stuff. That's the type of person you're getting. A guy that's going to be down the middle, no matter who you are. And that's what we need. And once that happens.
That is what we need.
Once that happens, you will see a new world. It's
Well, speaking on that,
easy.
right? Philadelphia is the poorest city out of all of the major cities in the United States. With that being said, what does that mean for Philly, and how do we fix that? We fix it with people like this, honorable and noble people. Tell me.
Yes, absolutely. You get good people in there.
But how do they get in? It's very hard.
It's money. And that we are living in this city right now because somebody can't raise enough money to beat the person that has a bigger bank account. That's why we are all living the way we are right now. That's why you can go to certain neighborhoods and you can't buy a house for under $800,000. Or you go to another neighborhood where the kids can't eat. Like how is this
That lopsided.
possible? It's because the people that get in to these positions, instead of let me do better for the city, let me do better for my citizens, it's all about me, 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 me.
That was my next question. Philadelphia seems to have the highest potential for growth out of all of the major cities, right? Left. How does Philadelphia become that great city, which it has the potential to be?
You need people that are in that are truly going to come in. They don't care about the money. They don't care about the power. They care about maybe their legacy on what did I do? When I leave here, what are people going to think of me? You know, think of what you may want of Seth Williams and what he did, okay? And, you know, I have my own opinions about that. Me and Seth are friendly. We've talked. But it was safe under him because that's what he wanted. He wanted a legacy of the first black district attorney of Philadelphia, made it safe for the black and brown and white community of this city. And it was. There was some of the lowest numbers you'll ever see in our city's history was under him because he came in with a game plan, a fair game plan that targeted, you know, criminals, not everybody, and made neighborhoods safer. When a neighborhood's safer, more people will want to live there. When more people come and live in that neighborhood, where we're at today.
You talked about the reported crime, right?
Yep.
It feels as if there's more crime than ever now. However, people are saying that actually there is not, according to reported statistics. Do you think there's a problem in the reporting of the statistics
So,
and the crimes?
10, 15 years ago, if your car is broken into, you were calling the cops. And you were going to tell them, someone broke into my car, I need a police report. Someone breaks in your car tonight, you're not telling them. You're just going to go, because the insurance isn't going to cover it.
It's going to be a problem, a hassle.
It's going to be a headache.
It's going to be worse.
Your insurance will probably even go up. So you're just going to eat the bullet. You're going to bite it, unless something of serious was stolen, like, you know, a gun or something. You're just going to go to the shop, get it fixed, move on. Same thing with assaults. Somebody is walking down the street, gets jumped, beat up. They didn't see the person. Before, you would call the cops. Now, you're not. You're just going home and you're licking your wounds and you're moving on. That probably happens. For every one crime that's reported, there's probably 4 of the same type that are not. So numbers don't always tell the truth. There are a ton of people that come, and there are a ton of people that will even call. Cops will come out and they'll be like, listen, we will never solve this case. There is nothing you can do. So you have a choice. We can go down to the detectives. You can sit there for hours, waste your day, waste your time.
Skewed numbers and skewed statistics are a politician's best friend.
And that's all you're seeing right now. You know, now we do have a new police commissioner, Bethel, who I've said from day one, the second outlaw got out, you could have put an empty chair there and the numbers were going to increase better. It was going to be a better overall, it was better looking for everybody. And that has happened, you know, because he's a real cop. He's a Philadelphia cop. He knows the system. He knows the streets. He knows what needs to be done. He has his cops back. He isn't looking to jam anybody up. And it shows. That's why a lot of serious numbers have decreased and hopefully will continue. But the only way to really just wipe this out completely is to have a new district attorney, because now you have a new mayor, new police commissioner, and once you get that district attorney and all 3 work together, we're back to the safest time in our lifetime was probably in, 2000, I forget the numbers, 10, or maybe around there where it was 200 murders a year in a city like this, 200, that's insane. You know, that could be a bad summer.
There's more than double in 2022. It's more than double. It was like 600 around.
Last year's first year here, which was 2017, I believe, we jumped up into the high threes, then 4, then 5, 5, 4, and then it's like,
Yeah, it's bad.
you know, and it gets to a point where there's so many people killing each other. You know, a lot of the crime is going down because there's,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people are being killed off.
Have you ever thought about making a move and going into politics?
I did, but I don't think I could. I see the tactics people pull. You know, they go after my kids. Went after my ex-wife.
It's too much.
They didn't do anything. And I'm a type of guy where I could see it, write it, and then I say, well, why don't you meet me? We'll talk about it. And then wind up strangling somebody for, you know, and then I'll get in trouble. It's not worth it. I've actually thought, I'm actually, you know, this year I've been training, working out, thinking about getting back into law enforcement.
Really?
Again.
Wow.
Yeah, I won't be a city cop. There's too many people within the city that hate me. I would be walking a beat out here counting rocks, so it would be useless. But I am considering that. Like if all fails with, we had talked earlier about, you know, all the stories I've been telling.
I was about to get to this.
Yeah,
What's next for Mark Fusetti?
That's hopefully some TV stuff.
TVs, series.
Hollywood.
We talked about
Here we
this.
come. So-
TV series, Hollywood, here we come.
What happened was,
Behind the scenes stories.
in the 10 years I worked in the unit, I'm telling you, I have stories that will last a lifetime. Every day I can tell a different story, and I won't even scratch the surface of what I saw on the job. So it was part of like a therapy thing too, because believe it or not, when you see all this stuff over and over, it just crushes your soul.
Well, they say you guys see things, cops, police department, they see things every single day that are traumatizing to everyone else, right? So they constantly see traumatizing events happen over and over and over. And that's not easy to deal with.
No, I tell people that I would see things in a week that you just want to go home and cry. And it's like, my God, like hell. And then especially when you have kids.
Weighs heavy on the soul.
A lot of people think cops are like bad, racist, mean, they hate people. And it's not like that. You can put the most honest white man to ever walk on the face of the earth, and you put him in West Philly, which is prominently black, and all he's dealing with is the worst of the people in that neighborhood at their worst. He's going to just have a perception of, my God, this is all I see. I don't hate them because they're black. You know, I hate this because all I keep responding to are people doing bad. You know, and it's always a small group of any community. It's not the whole area. You know, so when I worked those 10 years, and I've always said no cop should ever be in a city like this, 20 and done. You should have to be forced to retire at 20 and honestly go into some type of therapy for the next 5 years. So when I did everything we did, and again, we saw everybody at their, and not only the person at the worst, but we saw their family at their most vulnerable when they're devastated and they're broken because their loved one is just, you know, out and about being whatever, just, you know, a menace to society, or, you know, an addict, unknown where they are, if they're even alive that day. And to see that pain out of somebody, it hurts so bad. So when you get out, you bury it all down, because when you're a cop, a tough guy, you can't talk about it. I did.
Put it in a box, lock it up.
Yep. It's a lot of why cops cheat on their wives. It's why a lot of them drink. It's not because they're, I'm Joe Cool Guy. It's they're burying stuff, and then when it comes out, this is how they're handling it. You know, so when we were done and we would talk and reflect on the job, some of them, again, I try to keep it light with a lot of this stuff. Some of them are fun, some of them are exciting. But I haven't even scratched the surface of the things that like crushed your soul. So I started, like in my own therapy, telling stories a few years ago. Here's what we did. Here's what happened. And just giving everybody a play-by-play of what a night was like, what an arrest was like. Helps me, but it entertains people. And we got to a point now where we're writing a book about it, about some of our big stories.
Congrats, by the way.
Thanks. And it's caught the attention of a few people. Like I talked to a publicist. We were going to go with them, but we're probably going to self-publish because we don't give up any rights.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm doing the same thing with my book.
Okay, there you go. We were going to, $25,000 is great, but it's not worth if it can turn into something bigger.
Yeah, you get pennies on the dollar. It's not worth it.
But then I know a few people, because I've been on some reality TV shows, so I have people that I know that I've made friendships with, reached out, somebody reached back. We're meeting next week to literally go over production, to try to get financing, production teams. This person really they think like it can go next level. So the goal is to hopefully this year shoot a couple episodes of some of my stories in different formats and pitch them to networks. So that is the next step.
Hollywood is next for Mark Fusetti. Books, movies, TV shows. I love to see that. Love to hear it.
I'm excited. And again, if it doesn't happen,
yeah,
I don't care. I tried it, given it a shot. Worst case scenario,
yeah, fun doing it.
I fun doing it and learn something on the way. Excuse me.
Every day we learn something new. Day by day, I say take it day by day. Because the past at this point is not real. The future is not real. What's real is the present. Let's make the most of it. Right?
And you have to. Like, we had talked off air, like I had a wild year, ups, and then crashing down, and it's back up, and you crash down again. It's like, my God.
Life's a roller coaster, man.
It is. It's like, too old for it.
That roller coaster, when it comes to whatever's negative, you got to turn the disadvantages into advantages. So focus whatever energy you have pent up from whatever happened. You went through a breakup, you went through this, unfortunately, maybe you lost a loved one, whatever the case is, you got to try and take that energy and put it into something positive.
Yes.
Right? Whether it's bettering yourself, bettering your family, put that energy and passion into a new project and create something and do something meaningful, make something better.
And that's what I did. I literally, at the beginning of February, I was up here, and in a matter of 3 days, crashed. And as I'm crashing, I'm like, here we go again. Like, I'm done. I'm done. And then I thought, I can't do that. I got kids. I got all that. Not done as axe myself, but I'm just whatever. I'll just fade away.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah. You know what? Went for a jog. First time I ran in probably 5 years.
Wow.
Maybe even 10. And I remember that feeling afterwards, like, you accomplished something. Even though it was a mile run, it took me 12 minutes to do. I've knocked that down to 7.
That's awesome.
I was like, all right.
Running faster than me now.
Lost 30-some pounds in a matter of 6 weeks. Thank you. Some of it was due to a sickness. I was sick for a little bit too. But
take it.
Now it's like, okay, now I have different opportunities. I could go be a cop again. I could, and I know what I could do for a community. I know I can get in and help an area, because one thing I always took pride in is I listened to everybody, no matter what your story was, because I would always ask, why are you in every single person I arrested?
Why are you in the position you're in?
I locked up over 10,000 people. Why are you in my car today? What happened? And I genuinely wanted to know what led to that person to this point in life that we are now meeting for, unfortunate reasons. Why? All because I had all little kids, and I wanted to make sure I learned from that person what he or she did wrong so I can help, and they all helped me raise my kids so they didn't make any of those mistakes. Because if, God forbid, my son was in the back or my daughter was in the back of a car, I would beg they would get the same treatment. And that's why I did it. And that's where all these stories come from. Like I said, I have stories I haven't told about how a mom turned out her own daughter multiple times. I have multiple people that I know. I remember their names. That's why they were in Kensington. That's why they were prostituting, because their mom at 12 turned her out. So a bunch of dudes could have their way with her, so they would pay the moms to go buy heroin. And all those stories stuck. And that's why I listened to every single one, even if it was something stupid. But it was always two things: drugs or a man or a woman. 70% of the problems come from those two scenarios. A man, woman breaks somebody's heart, they go spiraling, and they don't get up. Or they were just born into that life of drugs, and there's no way out. Real quick, a girl, I posted a video of her, Nicole. She was a person that helped us out all the time. I considered her a friend. If I would see her, I would only arrest her if I knew she needed it, because you could tell. I locked her up a few times, and then I wound up giving her a pass. I seen her last summer, went to interview her, and we talked. I did a great interview with her, but the microphone cut, so you don't hear any of it. But the one thing she said to me was, I said, if I can get you help, because she's somebody I would help if I could. So would you take it? She goes, Mark, no. I've been down here for 28 years. She's like, look at all the sores on my body, look at all the scabs. She's like, a man's never gonna want me. She's like, a job will never hire me. She's like, this is my life. She's like, I will die down here, and that's fine. She's like, that's it. She's like, this is who I am. I will never live a normal life, even if I got clean tomorrow. She's like, at least when I do the heroin, I escape it.
That's sad.
So that's, that one sucks, because I like
Hurts.
But I would hear that story from so many people. And they're the stories I don't tell, but they're the ones where it's like, God damn. And they are forgotten. They're still right now.
Yeah.
They're still sitting there right now as we speak.
As we speak.
Sitting there. And I always said, if you went down there and you saw 50 people sitting on a corner, lost, if they just disappeared, society would be better and happier. But if you saw 50 dogs sitting there right now, those dogs would be rescued. The people aren't. And that sucks.
That's a shame. Well, I think that goes, as we talked about, to the horrible city in which Philadelphia has become, with crime and this and that and all of the corruption. And hopefully we get people like you talked about to come that are honorable and noble to fix this city up, because it has the potential for the most growth out of any major city in the United States. Philadelphia has that much potential, but you got to tap into it and you got to really mold it. So thank you for coming on, Mark. I appreciate you. It was a great interview.
Thank you.
Great job. All right, guys, make sure to subscribe to the Maltepes Report and Maltepes Show. Like, subscribe, comment, let me know your thoughts. And also, if you want to reach out to Mark Fusetti, you can reach out to him on Twitter, on social media.
Instagram at Sergeant_Mark_Fusetti, Fusetti.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much.